Hello, it's me again. It's time to do another rambling kind of video because I do actually want to do more of these and I find a lot of fun doing them. This video is going to be talking about how I decided the mechanics of Cappy Starbound Saga. And I think it's pretty interesting. So, here we go. The mechanics of this game started off like very simple. I wanted a game to be similar into pacing like Mario. So I didn't have much in terms of something complex, I suppose. So I only had like jumping, running. I also had added coyote time and some jump buffering. And that was practically it. I also added wall jumping because I felt like that'd be pretty cool. And then somewhere in between all of this, I decided, well, why don't I focus more on speed? I am a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog for many years. And it just kind of like infected my brain that I needed to make this like Mario and Sonic kind of like hybrid. And then I added rails. And the rails would not be used for, let's say, like 6 months ish, yeah, after I like initially made them. So that was kind of a waste of time programming, but it helped in the long run, so that's what matters most. But I was thinking maybe we should add more rails to make the gameplay more speedy, because this was before I actually had a run button for Cappy, so the only way to go super fast was through those rails. And I think it was fine. I thought the idea was cool, and I still think the idea is cool. Fast forward a bit. This is when I made the first level for Cappy, actually. This is where his mechanics were more fine-tuned. Sorry about that. And I added his attacking. His attacking was already like there. It was one of like the first things like before wall jumping, I believe. But it wasn't that noticeable because, well, it's a platform where you have your attack. That's pretty standard. And what I wanted to be the gimmick was to have some Kirby gameplay in the mix. So we would have new abilities and like that like mess up your like weapons. Not mess up, but like improve your weapons and make them stronger, have more gameplay differences to feel the need to use them. So that idea like fell flat on its head when I decided to do it. Long story short, a lot of my weapons back then were very useless. There were, if I were to make a tier list of all the abilities from, let's say my Sage build, for example, 2023. I believe that the shock one, which is like the first one you get in the game, that one is probably S tier, and like after that, everything is just kind of like bottom like everything, because the issue with abilities were that a lot of them had a long wind up, a lot of them were just too situational. And Shock was actually the only one that could give you any ounce of movement abilities, such as a double jump, and it actually increases your max running speed by 1. So instead of being capped by 6, you'd be moving at 7. And that was kind of a big deal now thinking about it, because that was the most complex thing I've ever done, and it was the first ability I ever did. Technically, the second one was trying to figure out how to do the fire yo-yo, and the charging thing was kind of weird because I didn't know how to do programming at all, so that was fun. But everything else, like rolling, was just 2 balls that like shielded you from attacks sometimes. We also had Bomb. Bomb was terrible. A lot of people probably don't know this, but Bomb used to be very bad because the hitbox of Bomb used to be the size of your yo-yo, like your base one. So it was tiny as hell, and it threw in an arc, but it did the most damage in the build, I believe. So you have this terrible ass like yo-yo, but it does the most damage, and you just have to like live with that idea. You just gotta live with that, and I don't know what I was thinking. So we're gonna fast forward a bit. This is now in November, and this is where a lot of the game mechanics of like what was Pocket Adventure was getting changed up and becoming better. And one of those things were adding more moves to your attacks, because in Kirby, as they kept going on, they actually added more move sets, I suppose. So each ability had, like, if you hold up, you do this, hold this, you do that, such and such. And I thought the idea was really good because, well, it makes these either ways, like, stagnant abilities have more things to do other than just press B. There's actually either a combo system or just a better move than just, pressing B. So I wanted to do that. But how was I going to do that with a game where most enemies just die in one hit? And there's not much bosses like in Kirby. Well, I thought about movement. And I think that's where my light bulb really turned on. So Shock still had all of its movement things. It only recently got a new movement where if you stomp with it, it is now the fastest way to stomp to the ground. So if you really like Shock and you want to go super fast, you can still do that. Then we have Pyro, who has a charging move in the air. While running, you do a leaping jump, and I think that was, like, honestly another peak in terms of what I was designing, because it really did make Pyro feel useful, and it also felt powerful because when you charge it up, you still do a bunch of damage, and that charging thing is still a hitbox, so you're able to kill enemies while you're doing it. Then we went to rolling. Rolling was changed so that it gave more yo-yos. So instead of 2 orbiting, it was 4. And you were allowed to do a kind of, I guess, drop dash, if I have any, like, apt comparison, where you're just rolling on the ground really fast. So it's like a burst of speed that you could carry on with after when you jump, if you really want to, because it is kind of useful, but it's also, like, just kind of there. Then finally, with the yo-yos out, your gravity is actually lowered, so you're able to float just a little bit more, so you can make more gaps when the yo-yos out, which I think is really cool, because there are a lot of pits, even though they're not all of them are insta-kill, you don't want to fall into a pit. So I thought that would be a nice change. Then we go on to the newer abilities, which are, I say newer, but I mean before the Sage build, newer. We have Balloon, where you could just throw the balloons out in midair now, instead of not in midair. So you could do a lot of funny things, like the Bubble Flower and Wander. You could do a lot of, like, cheating and skipping. If you break my game doing that, that's not my fault. You're doing that to yourself. But I thought that was a cool change, because Balloon was kind of just there. It wasn't terrible, but the only thing was to be a gimmick, so it's not really that much of an important ability. And actually, to go back, because I forgot about Bomb. Bomb has a bigger hitbox. Its explosion hitbox is even bigger. And one thing I did is when you air dash, you hold your button and you can select a direction to send the bomb your way, and it also propel yourself. So it's still an air dash, but it's an omnidirectional air dash where you can throw the bomb in any direction you're holding. It's still kind of clunky because I still need to test it a little bit more, but I think that is an awesome compromise to make bomb feel like a movement-based ability to some degree. And now we're gonna go on to the other newer ones. We have sound. Sound was just given an air dash boost. So when you air dash with sound, you go higher. Because air dash does keep you in the air just a little bit, but in sound, it actually jumps you up. So you can actually make higher jumps with sound, which I think is very nice because with shock you have to have bounces which recharge once you hit the ground, and you have to be running if you really want to reach the maximum. With air dash, you reach your peak speed and you jump up. So there is a reason to use sound, in my opinion. That, and it's very broken as a weapon, but we don't talk about that. Now we have firework. Firework was an interesting ability I made because it was literally inspired by the fact that Technoblade used a crossbow with fireworks, and it was shooting a like arch, and I thought that was just so cool. And I was like, yeah, I have a firework ability, so that's why it's there. And I didn't know how to make a firework enemy, so I just thought about a nutcracker that like shoots fireworks instead of bullets, and I thought that was kind of cool. And what those do is you can shoot down and it propels you up. It's not the same as sound, and it's not that good, but if you really want to kill enemies that are below you but don't want to stomp, I think it's a very useful way of doing it. Then we have Razor. Razor is technically the only one where I haven't done much momentum for it. It just has a dash that will always send you back to your second stage of running, not your final stage, which people probably don't like, but I want to figure out something with Razor before I do something like crazy. So for now, that's just staying, but I'm pretty sure it will change because it makes Razor not that much useful, minus the fact it's probably one of the best abilities for bosses. And then for Quake, there was nothing really for momentum I could have done. However, if you stomp on the ground with it, it creates a massive, kind of shockwave. So for clearing enemies and keeping your combo alive but at a safer distance, I think it's much useful there. So that's practically my philosophy for like abilities. It's just momentum and how good they are for defeating enemies, or if they're just cool, which I say a lot of them are. I think even though stuff like Balloon doesn't have like damage like capabilities to kill bosses properly, and Bomb doesn't have much momentum, I still think these choices can lead to different playstyles on how to beat levels. I can even instill interesting challenges on people, which I would very much encourage. I would love to see how people play the game with these abilities and see how they go, because I love using Wind. Wind is a new ability that's in the Sage demo that's coming soon in 2 weeks. I'm so excited. Yeah, Wind is coming, and it's going to be just more momentum based ability. So your dash attack is going to be go even further, the fastest that it's gone ever. And I wanted to have an air attack where you could bring in enemies. So if I ever like go back to the idea of having like wave based enemies, I think honestly Wind will be very good for them, because that ability is very, very strong when it comes to bringing up enemies. But yeah, that's practically it. That's all I have to talk about the abilities, and I want to talk more about how I've decided on the levels and level mechanics and the worlds of Cappy as well, but that's for another video, so I won't hold you for too long. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that jazz. If you're interested, you could donate to my Patreon or jump to my Discord and we can talk and you can see all my updates about my games, Cappy, Oi Oi, all of them. I post updates about them. I try to do it daily, but sometimes it's bi-daily, tri-daily, weekly. You know the problems. But thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Until then.